Hi there, and welcome to the Multiply You podcast, where we showcase top experts in their space and reveal all the secrets you need to know to multiply you.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Austin Clark here, host of the Multiply You podcast. Really excited to be here with our guest, Israel Alvarez. He is running a fantastic shop out of Ventura County, California. And I'm really excited to be able to pick his brain as it relates to some of his story, sales and marketing. As everyone knows, the coasts are kind of, as it relates to pest control, a little bit more progressive, a little bit more innovative as it relates to not just our pest space, but rules and regulation, technology. And so there's some things that I think that everyone's probably heard about as it relates to, I hate to say bans. I mean, it's essentially what it is, but just tighter regulations around safety and, rodenticides and different products that we're able to use or not use, or maybe are coming down on or with a more restricted label. And so for those of you that aren't operating on the coasts, some of the things that Israel will explain to us are probably coming our way soon. And so he may have some tips and tricks for us to learn and figure out how to navigate some of those issues as they come down the pipeline. This episode, as they all are, it's brought to you by my company, Moxie Pest Control. In getting to know Israel, he has had some fantastic growth over the last couple of years. We've been in the same boat as him, very fortunate to be able to grow in spite of a national pandemic that all of us are still figuring out and navigating. And part of the key or primary ways that we've been doing that has been via acquisition. We have found anywhere from the $1 million to $10 million mark that it's an underserved part of the market as it relates to acquisitions. And so we've kind of stepped in to do the best that we can to fill that. We look at, I wouldn't say maybe dozens a week, but many deals a week across the country. And so if you are a small business pest operator out there, have 3, 4, 5 plus trucks on the road, not necessarily are looking to throw the towel in, but just explore or see what the next chapter of your life might look like. We'd certainly love to have those conversations with you. I would love to have those conversations with you one-on-one. You can call me directly on my cell or text me. It's 480-254-9730, or you can email me directly at aclark@moxiepestcontrol.com. It's aclark@moxiepestcontrol.com. Israel, he's been in the business for 20 plus years now, I guess you could say. He's worked for some of the companies that all of us would recognize the names, fantastic companies, big box companies, world-renowned training programs. He's been involved in those companies. On top of that, he, in the recent last 5-10 years, has branched out, done his own thing. He is the founder and CEO of Insight Pest Management out of Ventura, California. 20 plus years in the industry. He's a graduate of the MPMA ELP program, which is very difficult program to come out of. It's very renowned and carries a lot of prestige with it. He's the chairperson for the PCOC Ventura District and a husband and a father. And so welcome, Israel, to the show. Thank you for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the conversation.
Hey, of course. Just in getting to visit with you kind of before we went live, I know we're going to have a great conversation. Before we jump into maybe the meat and potatoes of this, though, let us know, Israel, a little bit of your backstory. You've been in the business or been in pest control for about 20 years. You got involved in the early 2000s. But back this up for us and tell us how some of this came to be and came about.
I came into pest control because I was a young man just looking for a fun outside sales job, and ran into a manager who she's still in the business, and she actually sent me away. Said that you have all the skills to be successful in this business, but you need to choose this business and be committed to it. So we had a great conversation, and she told me kind of the takeaway close, I guess, would be a fun way to put it. She's still a manager for Orkin now. So then that was kind of the beginning of the end, I guess you'd say. Then I started as an outside sales rep down in the San Diego area, Del Mar, Solana Beach. And then after about a year, moved into a management role and went through some management training. And a couple of years after that, went into like branch and region management, and started taking over branches. I left that company, Terminix, in '07, to take an opportunity with Stereotech as an operations manager there. Took over a couple operations for Stereotech San Diego, as well, some of the LA, and then moved up to a district manager, region manager, to take care of all of the Southwest, flying to Hawaii. That's always kind of fun. That's a whole different culture out there. New Mexico, Phoenix, Vegas, did a couple acquisitions, and really was doing business there with Stereotech. And then, as we know, they got bought out at the end of 2015. And that's when we decided, my wife and I decided to start our own business. So the January 2016, we got our license number about the 11th of January. There we know the exact day and time when they dropped that license number off for us. And the first year was a little challenging. We decided to have a baby our first year, which if anybody knows, having a child and opening up a business is somewhat of a challenge there. We ended up doing about 240,000 our first year, with a little bit of a slow start, but ended up pretty strong. And every year since, we've had pretty good growth. We've kind of got out of the doubling range, and we're shooting for 20-30% targets right now as far as growth goes. So we've been doing this now in our 8th year, 5 techs, a repair crew, and then we do a lot of subcontracting for fumigation. So I wouldn't say that money's fallen from the sky, but the grind is starting to pay off a little bit.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. What Israel, but backing up to your time at Terminix, what was it like, and what was valuable about your time there in terms of moving through the ranks, going through a bunch of different programs? I mean, they are one of the best in the business, an 800-pound gorilla in the room. You don't get to be a company for that long and that big because you're not doing things right. And so tell us what was great about that experience for you.
Being able to see, we've got to see everything. Everything that I see today, I've seen it before, and it was at Termix, from heat treats to attic cleanouts to sub area cleanouts, roof rats, Norway rats, high-end corporate customers, small customers. That really was jumping in the deep end of the pool early. I was about 22, managing 23 guys, and trying to work through a service department with both repairs and pest control, as well as, with their damage repair guarantee, that really put my business chops on. And we were going to small claims court. We were dealing with the county. We were dealing with city offices and permits and approvals. And, we were really doing pest control. It really wasn't, the secondary stuff was pest control. That almost, I wouldn't want to say ran itself, but the real challenge was the regulatory challenges, being, like you said, an 800-pound gorilla, big name,
Big target too, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
Dealing with state complaints and customers who are trying to read between the lines on the agreements, and really trying to leverage the slack within the business to try to gain things. And for me to come in as a young person and a young professional to really, like I said, go into small claims court against 2 or 3 people on a docket in one day, and
you grew up real quick, didn't you? And
yeah.
thought, wow, the world isn't as friendly as it was a year ago,
Yeah, no, really. And the ability to get jobs done. I mean, in some of the training programs that I have for the branch management training program, you had to spend a couple months doing every single thing in every office. So from customer service to admin to to out in the field and doing fumigations and things like that. So I would say I was pretty well-rounded as far as my experience goes, and was able to put together a good base from Terminix. I really appreciated that company.
And what would you say, Israel, the transition was like from Terminix to Stereotech? Was that seamless for you? Did you go into the same role, just different company? Any humongous differences in a good way, or?
Man, when I was a Terminix manager, I was always, we're the Cadillac of pest control. And I really believe that. I believe that our superior training, equipment, those types of things, the culture and expectations that we put people out on the road. But when I got to Steritech, it was on a whole nother level. It really 2 weeks of initial training in Charlotte, away from your family. I always laugh. In retrospect, I said my Steritech technicians were like Navy SEALs. You drop them in on the polar ice cap in their underwear, and they're going to be able to get the job done, put the binder together, do the initial, get everything labeled, and they were just, it was a cut above. The culture there, the people first mentality, was just something that I had never experienced before. It was also commercial only. So now we're dealing more with scope of services, more site visits, more issues with the plant manager's bonus being ridden on the inspection scores, dealing with health inspectors a little bit more. So I dealt with a lot more regulatory issues at Steritech, and I felt like it made me a better businessman being at Steritech.
That's great. Let's kind of jump towards, you're not a new business owner, like you said, 2016, you've been doing this for about 8 years or so now. What was it that inspired you and your wife, or possessed you and your wife to, start your own company? Was it kind of the entrepreneurial dream? Is it, hey, I've got a lot of experience, I think I could probably do that on my own? What caused you guys to do that?
I think early on, I know early on, I've always said that I wanted to learn on somebody else's dime. And that's why I really embraced Terminix a lot. And even from towards the end of my Terminix experience, I was kind of, what I say, shopping a business plan to try to create my own business and do that. And then when I was working with Steritech, I really felt I had branched off and done a little consulting, small business consulting and things like that. And I started to realize that the real pedigree was going to be starting my own program, starting my own business. I could grow, I grew one of our branches from 700,000 to like 2.5 million at Steritech. But growing a branch is different and growing a brand is much different than starting a brand and establishing the way that you want things to go. And really, with the way that the market's going, the industry going with, like you said, acquisitions, I just didn't want to restart. I figured if I was going to restart and I was going to get absorbed into the rent-a-kill management matrix, then I might as well start my own thing and fight that fight rather than some of the instability, I guess, we were unknown guarantees out working for the bigger company. So it was a culmination of all the different factors that came together, and then a precipitating event.
Very good. And, I'm glad the next thing I want to get into is maybe some of the challenges that you had is, as you kind of mentioned, you had been involved in branches that were at a certain amount and you took them in a couple of years to a much higher amount in revenue. But you've learned from personal experience with your company that it is something completely and totally different to go from, founding a company and starting a company that no one knows about, that quite different. And I don't want to discourage anyone that listens to this in starting their own company. In fact, it's quite opposite. I think everyone should own their own business and be their own person. But the reality of it is, and don't be scared of these statistics, just understand them and embrace them and go challenge them and beat the statistic. There is a reason that 9 out of 10 businesses that open are closed in that same year. And then I think the next statistic that's kind of staggering is, of those businesses that are successful out of the first year, 9 out of 10 of them are out of business or closed in the next 5 years. And so there's reasons for that. just like there's reasons for other statistics that are simply facts. And the better we can prepare ourselves against those statistics and have conversations with people like Israel that are here right now, I think the chances of success are higher. And so maybe tell the audience, Israel, what were some of those surprises? What were some of those unforeseen challenges? You said your first year you guys did 240K in revenue. Was your goal 500? You may recommend, probably not having a baby in the same year. But talk to us about some of those things that were difficult and that you weren't expecting.
Everything that I had thought I had learned, I pretty much had to throw out the window. It was probably the easiest way to put it. I used to be real numbers based, have a budget base, stay within your budget, do these things. And the first year, when you got to go sell somebody in the morning, knock doors, sell somebody in the morning, go home, change clothes, check the truck, and go out and service in the afternoon. That's a whole different load. And I think the willingness to do those things is what's going to separate people from not listening to CEOs should just read books. I'm just a salesperson, so I don't do this. I mean, you really are the heart and soul of the business. And how you put forth your integrity, sticking to the way that you are going to do services and things like that and guarantee your services and do follow-throughs and follow up, and how you're going to represent your quality guarantee to your customer in the face of your budget concerns. That's probably the biggest thing. If you don't have any money, it's kind of hard to spend extra money doing reservices and things like that. But the need and the desire to do that and to choose who you're going to be in the space, the sooner you can get that figured out, the better. If you're going to be a low price provider and compete on price, that's fine. But know who you are in those situations. We've chosen to be a little bit more value centric in the upper to middle range of our pricing. And that's really challenging if you choose that. And in a small business environment or a new business, brand new business, every dollar coming in, it's already spent. So to fight the need to lower the price just to get the job and to not.
You're saying no a lot.
Yeah, that's a real hard thing to do when you got bills coming in and you're balancing how much gas it takes to go over there and things and to get out there and those things. So boy, I learned so much from Stereotech, and it seemed like I threw it right out the window from the Stereotech culture. And all the things that I had learned from there, I threw out the window. And then now as our business is starting to scale and get larger, we're integrating those things in, the people first and the employee first platforms, and taking care of our employees and putting them on a pedestal was a real big, something you knew, but you just weren't putting that practice in place. Marketing and sales is a tough one. I remember Yelp freaking out about Yelp putting our reviews as not recommended reviews, right? And it's like, it's got my name on there. It says Israel and staff. Why would you not recommend those reviews? And now we've got 200 or 300 reviews, and I think we have almost as many not recommended as we do have. So it's just kind of part of the game, dealing with Home Advisor when it was Home Advisor, then squabbling about leads and kind of squabbling about these things that are real. They mean a lot to you as you start your business out. You need 4 appointments a day. You need to be closing 2 or 3 of those appointments, and you really fight for every inch that first year, 2 years. Honestly, I fight for that every inch today as well. But the level of stress and what's worth fighting for is a little bit different.
Sure. Well, and I'm so glad, Israel, that you said that. And I think some of your previous experience at Terminix and at Stereotech helped you to understand who you wanted to be in the marketplace. Very few people take your approach in being the mid to upper level service company and value centric company because in the beginning, it's just chasing every single shiny thing or dollar, because normally in the beginning, your expenses outweigh what's coming in, and you're supplementing that with personal savings or other credit cards or other methods. And so to really hold true to that and to hold strong to that is a very difficult thing to do. Takes a lot of discipline. Speak to us, Israel, a little bit about, well, before we go on, what would you say so far is your biggest peak or your biggest win at your company in the last 8 years? I mean, what's the thing that's happened or that you've accomplished or the team's accomplished that you'd say you're maybe the most proud of?
We haven't had any turnover. I haven't had any turnover in about a year now. So to be able to put together a team in a year and a half is mid-pandemic, right? So to be able to put together a
and
team,
so that's twice as impressive.
Yeah, in mid-pandemic, and there's a lot of stuff that's happened in the last 2 to 3 years in regards to employees and pay and work from home and the great quitting or whatever they called it, where everybody's quitting their jobs and nobody wants to work. And I hate to say nobody wants to work. Everybody wants to work. There's a lot of people who want to work. But I think they're looking for companies that value them and show them value. And I think, so for not having turnover and being able to put together a solid team where my newest team member is a year and a half, for me, that's the environment we want to create. That's the stability we want to create. We've been able to get people with multiple licenses, challenge them further to where they're taking on other tasks that I normally would do, and lighten my load and lighten everybody else's load because they're making sales, recommending termite inspections, making in what I call in the game recommendations that make things better. They're running with the ball and without having to without the manager having to manage everything. So I think that by far is what I would consider my biggest success would be switching to employees and switching to culture and actually seeing some result.
No, what a fantastic accomplishment. I mean, in a normal environment, that is phenomenal, but it has not been a normal environment the last 2-3 years or so. So congratulations. Shifting gears a little bit, one of the other challenges that you and other firms in California face is just the immense pressure of regulatory agencies, and right or wrong, I think that their hearts and minds are in the right place of protecting you and your employees and your clients and the environment and those sorts of things. But I know sometimes there's headbutting and, they may not have all the information that you have about different products or how they work or how they break down. And so spend a couple of minutes, Israel, perhaps about just that particular challenge and what you've seen and how you navigate that and what may be coming down the pipeline for those of us that are next door neighbors like me in Arizona and, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a fun talk. The big one, I guess, that's kind of on our radar is what we call AB 1788, with Assembly Bill 1788, which it was sponsored by a congressperson in Malibu, which is my territory. So I service Malibu. So I'm kind of frontline, Agora Hills, Malibu, Thousand Oaks. And what that bill did was it outlawed second generation. Well, it put intense restrictions on second generation anticoagulants. There's pretty much 4 areas, if you're manufacturing food or pharmaceuticals on site. But really it essentially took that tool out of our toolbox, which was, first strike and contract and generation.
Some of the stuff that works so well.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. All of those things, it kind of took that right out of the toolbox. And so then we were kind of left with what, our acute category of rodenticides, or cholecalciferol and other different things like that, which, are acute. So they have tough difficulty with uptake, effectiveness, getting good knockdowns and things like that. The industry, the suppliers have done a decent job of trying to come around and contract California, getting new labeled products out, and kind of helping us know exactly what we could use out there. But I have several different neighborhoods we go into, and there's yard signs that are, proclaiming that, rodent poison is life poison, and these things. So we've had to take on a more holistic, what I talked to as a holistic, an area approach to rodents. Every one of our rodent programs comes with, exterior bait stations, but we've really switched to a exclusionary tactic up front. We really work on exclusion a lot. We have many customers who don't want to use any poison at all. And one thing that comes to mind is the education process, because even though they've taken care of or made restrictions on the second generation anticoagulant, that's not out there in the social media ethos and those things. It's just poison. So educating customers as to what is available, how it's available, reviewing the labels in regards to secondary poisoning. But really, if you take that tack, then you find yourself in a little bit of more of a confrontational, convince them to do your way type of environment. And I found that with people that are set in what they believe and what they want, I think you have to have an answer for them, and you have to have a program for them. And we do trapping in bait stations with no bait. We do, some minor, what they call propel or repellency sprays. We use some of the repellent gels. We really focus on more service then. And then we also really work on recruiting the customer. Always look at rodent problems like Caesar Milan. It's never the customer, it's never the dog's fault. It's always the owner's fault, right? So these folks that have the biggest rodent problems typically have overgrown trees, ivy, built-in koi ponds and things like that. So we focus, like I said, more holistically on the perimeter of the property, looking at our first line of defense and recommendations for there. The second line of defense being the base of the structure, and what they're doing to thin those plants out, do exclusionary measures, seal these properties up. And I just found that offering them, embracing what their mindset is, not trying to contradict them, but showing them, hey, then if the material doesn't do the work, then we have to do the work with labor. And that's just a little bit more expensive, but kind of where we position ourselves, it fits to the higher level of service, knowing that we're taking on clients, knowing that we have multiple layers of items that we could escalate to, all the way up to, a game camera in an attic to try to determine directionality. We do a lot of baby powder when we do a interior trap out, so that way we can figure out, hey, are they snapping the traps? What direction are we dealing with? And really try to go to an information-based trapping program, so that way we can be effective to resolve the problem, and then be able to speak the customer's language and empathize where they're coming from. If they don't want to use it, that's fine. We have a method for you too as well.
Well, and I think that's totally the right approach to, we can be whatever bent way we want to be about, oh, this is taken away, or we're unable to use we can only use it 2 times a year instead of 4 times, but I think what it does is it just allows people that want to be more creative and to say, hey, this is out of the toolbox. What other tools have we got? Or what other tools haven't we explored? Or how can we do it a better way, a more environmental way, a safer way, for our customers? And so it sounds like you're certainly doing that. And that's not just with the rodenticide. That's with, I remember when all these changes were happening with all types of, liquid products, and you used to be able to use them and now you can't, or it went from whatever times a year to half of that. And you find workarounds, new products come onto the market all the time, better techniques, better technology. And so, and not to mention, as the key piece of that you mentioned, Israel, is communication and sharing that with the customer and education. And they'll get it. Most of the time they'll get it. And you'll be able to normally charge more for that, because you're the guy and company that is first movers and has first advantage, and you get to be the one that educates them. So this has been great. And I really, Israel, appreciate you sharing your story, being on, helping us to understand some of the things that may be coming our way from California. If you wouldn't mind, please share, if people want to continue the conversation, what's the best way for them to continue to engage with you? Do they do that via email or social media, or how can they find you or interact with your company?
We have a Instagram page, which is Insight Pest 2016 is our Instagram page. My email is ialvarez@insight-pest.com. Those are probably the best ways to get a hold of us. Our website is insight-pest.com, and we have a contact me page on there. That one actually comes directly to my phone. I get to see all of those. So if you want to hit my inbox, that's probably the best way to get a hold.
Wonderful. Israel, thank you again for your time, and thank you for sharing it with me and my audience. All of you that are listening, I thank you for tuning in each and every week. I love seeing the comments. I do the best that I can to engage. I'm not always great at it, but appreciate the community that's kind of come behind supporting this podcast, and appreciate everything that you guys do each week. Subscribe, stay tuned. We've got more great guests coming every week. And until then, create a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Multiply You podcast. You'll see us again soon when you subscribe for future episodes.